Can you hear me, Cal?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, all good. Yep.
It's all breaking up.
Still waking up?
I can't hear. You must have a bad connection.
Still the same?
That's a bit better.
Might need to change. I might need to change rooms.
That's all right. That's better.
Is that better? It just sometimes just takes time
Yeah,
to. Yeah. All right.
that's gone.
Is it gone again?
Yeah, I can't hear you.
All right. I might have to go where the family is. Hang on. I had who was there? There was someone already sitting there. Russell was sitting in, waiting, and as two was a couple others.
Yeah,
Can you hear me okay now?
yeah.
All clear? All good?
Yeah, it's okay. It's better than it was.
All right. Well, I've got two. I'll start in a minute. So we had another, just before I start, we had another really good little success story. So, Athol, you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Athol released so far 7 kilos since being part of the challenge
Wow.
the last 2.5 weeks. So that's really good. So it's been a combination of keeping the movement front of mind and just adjustments in his portion sizes, in his carbohydrates, and reduction of alcohol. So hopefully get it. It'd be good to get a couple more of those. I reckon there's going to be quite a few of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is good.
That's great.
Yeah, it's good. It is good. You can hear me fine?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can hear you.
Right. Okay. All right. Did you send out a reminder to this group by chance?
Yeah, I did. I've just emailed them again.
Yeah.
I think this one was starting. We had it scheduled in the calendar for 1:30.
Oh, did we?
Yeah. So I don't know whether people. I've been getting a few emails. Sorry, I texted you before because I couldn't get into the Zoom meeting, and I think we just had the wrong time, maybe.
Oh, that's why someone was sitting there. I'm going, why are they sitting there now for?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure we've done all the other ones at 2 to 2:15.
Okay. Just thought you had the other group in at 2 o'clock. The 16,000 steppers.
At what time?
I thought you had the next group at 2 o'clock.
Oh my goodness, did I switch it? Hang on.
All right.
Let's see if I've, hang on. I wonder if I can do it at 2 at the same time.
I can get them to join this one, I think. Actually, I can. Yeah. Oh, hang on.
Are you able to?
Yeah, I'm just sending them the link. I don't know if they're coming, but
Yeah, that's all right.
I think, yeah, I don't know what happened to Russell. He was there.
Well, 1:30. Sure.
My email has just died today, so if they're trying to call me or email me, I can't get it. I think they are.
Any joy?
Sorry?
Any joy? Anyone coming in?
No, not yet. It's only just gone over 2 o'clock. So,
Did you resend the link out to them?
yeah.
Is Russell there? Russell's in.
Oh, there's Russell. Yeah, I just emailed him. Yeah.
So I really going to make sure I just keep this to 15 minutes, okay?
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's fine.
Nice. You still hear me okay? My internet was just a bit dodgy then. Still okay?
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
All right. So wait 1 more minute and then see if any other guys come in. Okay.
I think my video works now.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Okay. All right. We're recording. Okay. Russ, hope you're well. Thanks, Cal. And as I said, this video will go out to the 9 others that are actively engaged. So I thought, so Cal, this is actually coming off the back of our conversation yesterday, I think last week sometime.
Yeah.
In regards to the topic, I think this is probably fundamentally one of the most important topics of all. And in essence, the main reason why I say that is because of what I notice within individuals, within communities, and within organisations in regards to basically people starting things and not finishing. Or, specifically speaking, when I look at the current trends, physical, mental, and emotional well-being, when I look at, even as a facilitator, facilitating some very big joint ventures, alignment meetings, have been doing so for the last 2 years. One of the biggest fundamental challenges, I truly believe, is the conflicts lie when people are simply being their old self, and what I mean by that is that to truly experience certain levels of success and results and achievement, I believe that there needs to be an identity shift. And if I was to specifically link that back to health and well-being, right? And why is it that physical, mental, and emotional well-being, no matter how much resource, no matter how much money, no matter how many tools, no matter how many YouTube clips are out there, all the personal growth and development programs that are out there, yet we are progressively on a slow and steady downward decline. And I believe it comes back to habit, and it comes back to, obviously, what that underpins that is obviously habits, but most importantly, as I said, identity. So before I go into the details, just briefly, so with this challenge group, on average right now, we've pretty much got most guys in regards to activity time, disregarding intensity. Once upon a time, we had a target of getting individuals moving at varied intensity of 30 minutes per day. With this group so far, we have, of the 11, we've pretty much got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, pretty much got 9 guys there of this group that are doing 30 minutes or more of moderate physical activity throughout the course of the last 20 odd days, which is fantastic. In regards to the Nutrition 101 discussion, I'm going to record that video, and that's a deeper dive specifically into carbohydrates and sugar, which for most of you, these things you already know. I'm going to talk on the minimum amounts of protein intake from a female and male's perspective, that's per day, and factors that influence portion size. So carbohydrates and sugar, a bit of detail around that. Protein servings. The reason why I'm saying protein servings, I believe we underconsume in protein. In regards to carbohydrates, I believe our carbohydrate servings are too large. And obviously, areas where sugar and all that sort of stuff are creeping into our day and the detrimental side effects of that, and portion size. So that's something that I'm going to do that in a video. So in regards to forming habits, this is Russ, you can send me a message. Carol, you can send me a message of what your thoughts around this. My argument is this, okay? My argument is that true long-term thinking is goalless thinking when forming habits and achieving success. As we step through this presentation, you can use any context of your life. If you wanted to use it in the context of your health and well-being, so be it. But it could be in the context of relationships. It could be in the context of personal growth, financial prosperity, career, whatever it is. This is what I'm thinking. This is something that's really, really important to me, especially what I'm seeing within organizations that I currently work with. Okay? Bear with me as it'll make more sense. I've got a couple of guys got chat coming in here. All good. People going to must be, yeah. So when we look at this, so there's two sides, guys, that we can go through. We can go a systems first approach versus a goals first approach. We can go to a process approach versus a product approach, right? So what do I mean by product? So product really pretty simply is like a product could be to release 10 kilos is a product of itself, right? It's something that you get, you obtain, then unfortunately it just slips through your hand, just disappears, right? Often is the case, people achieve weight loss goals, okay, or weight release goals. What happens after that, okay? Let's say someone's working towards a half marathon. They do the half marathon. The half marathon is the goal. They want to do a sub 90 minutes. It's the product. Okay, what happens after that? It's continue playing the game versus winning the game, right? So I believe there are two sides of life in which we can go about forming habits and creating identity, okay? But there's only one side that will have the dramatic impact over the long term in regards to success and results, okay? So once again, problem with goals, guys, here are my thoughts. It's a momentary change. It's a momentary point in time. I'm not saying not to have goals, but we must consider this as a problem. We must consider that it is at odds with long-term progress. So what happens afterwards? How many times, I know Kelly, I'll have to be honest with myself, I've achieved many goals, but there's times after I've achieved the goal, whether it's a financial goal, whether it's a personal growth goal, whether it's a spirituality goal, that I've achieved the goal, that absolutely nothing has happened afterwards. I've achieved it and then that's been it.
Yeah.
Right? This happens in our workplace wellness programs. And to be honest, this is happening now at Blast One. We start off with a very best intention. We start off with the very best intentions, but if we have not got the system or the process to back up the sustainable change over a long period of time, we get fallout. We get four ways of engagement. We just go back to what we used to know. There's no long-term strategy. We're not playing the long game. Okay? If I hope that makes sense. Okay? And then thirdly, if we just focus on a goals approach, just like this goal you guys have got, a lifting 2-weight training session a day, and equivalent of 115 minutes to, let's say, 300, 400 minutes of varied intensity activity. If that's all we focused on, we are delaying happiness. If you are solely focusing on, let's say, Kelly, I'll just use an example, you want to be able to, I don't know, bench press 30 kilos. I don't know, right? I know you're not lifting weights anymore, but...
You do way more than that.
No, but you know what I mean? Let's say bench press 50, right? Okay, you get to the goal. If someone hasn't got a system or a process linked to identity that backs that goal up, what happens after achieving that target? There are so many things that there's so many opportunities to be able to achieve success, to achieve happiness that we delay, right? Because, we're not going to achieve that goal until another 30 days, to another 60 days, to another 90 days. No. This is where I think it's ass up. We need to change our approach with this. I'm not saying not to have goals, but knowing the oxytocin, endorphin, the dopamine and serotonin hits that we get through regular achievement and success, we basically delay that by solely focusing on a short, medium, or long-range goal. which I think it's actually a problem in and of itself. So in regards to identity, in regards to behavior change, 3 areas quickly, guys: identity, process, and outcome. There are 3 areas that you can change behavior, right? But I think we've got it upside down. So with identity, with outcome, obviously, as you know, as I've already mentioned, it's what you get. It's the product. It's the winning. It's the losing. It's the achievement. It's the achievement part. The process is around what you do. It's the systems approach. It's the list of things, yada, yada, yada. And then most importantly, the identity part of change and behavior change is around what you believe. Okay. Now, for me personally, this is going into almost my 20th year around looking at the human condition and assisting teams and individuals maximizing their true potential in all areas of life, in particular in business, right? And what is happening is this is, I'm telling you, fact of the matter, this is exactly what's happening. We are going from the outside in. We are focusing on goals. That's if we ever get them in the first place. We then think about the process, and I've got this as a 3rd step, right? But I bet your bottom dollar, 90 to 95% of people never, ever, ever focus on their identity. Disregarding context, I'm talking about cross context. We need to flip it. We need to, instead of going from the outside in, we need to do this. We need to go from the inside out. We need to spend time. We need to spend time on our identity. We need to then focus on process, then on outcome. So someone says, well, Dean, I've got it. I've pretty much nailed it in my area of health and wellbeing. Absolutely bloody fantastic. But there are other areas of life that make up the human condition. And unfortunately, it's that one area of your life that you undervalue the most, right? Let's say once upon a time, I used to work a lot with females that were single, right? Single females. And they used to throw themselves heavily into their physical well-being, right? But, and they were building that identity around their health and their physical body. But they were single and they were lonely. They were single and they were depressed. Their identity tied into this context of life was devaluing their self-worth. But yet they were trying to get these goals and manifest the desired guy and all this stuff, or girl or whoever, right? And what ends up happening is nothing, right? And they fall in and out of relationships and all that sort of stuff because they haven't got the values or the belief systems to back up what it is that they want. Does that make sense? Russ, let me know if that makes sense. Cal, does that make sense to you? Yeah. So it's going from the inside out. If there's one thing I want you guys to consider, maybe you've nailed it in health and fitness, fantastic. Choose an area of your life where you're undervaluing it the most. That, remember, everything's pervasive. It's like a wheel of life. One area, it's impossible for it not to affect other areas. Okay, it's impossible. It's always going to, in some way, shape, or form. So think about outside from the inside out. So what does this mean in regards to this approach? If we were to focus on the inside out, yes, it does mean we've got to challenge our beliefs. We've got to challenge them. We've got to look at updating our mindset. We need to consider the view of the world. It's almost like looking through life through a different lens, right? We need to look at our self-image and, how are we showing up? How are we presenting ourselves, right? Remember, think about the context. It might not just be health and fitness. And then we're going to start looking at dropping all judgment. We need to be judgment-free. And so what I mean by that, the moment you hold a judgment about yourself, about a situation, about any sort of circumstance, you will basically distort your focus to continue on getting what you've already got, right? And that is your old self. So what I'm trying to say, in essence, it's about updating. It's about being a new self, if you like, right? Moving beyond. It is about thinking about how you can literally be a new version of self. So if we speak about the context of better health, what does this mean? So Russ, Cal, and you guys who are listening to this now, when you have an identity shift, the impact of this is that you will focus on accomplishment over comfort. You will do the things that step outside your comfort zone. Okay, you will. Often, if you're focusing on more of the outcome versus the identity, okay? Very hard to step outside your comfort zone because there's no why. In essence, there's nothing to truly, to really grasp onto. You will go for training over relaxation, even though I believe relaxation inherently is a byproduct of training. But what I mean by training is, so going for a walk, going for a run, lifting some weights, playing with the kids outdoors with a ball, whatever it is, you will opt for that. You will opt for that versus sitting on your bottom, okay? Or doing something with the kids that are sedate, and then preoccupying the children with computer games or whatever it is. So inherently, what ends up happening is you establish more pride within yourself, and then you find not only motivation, but I should have added there, you find a deeper level of inspiration, to maintain these habits that you're trying to form. Especially here at Blast One, when we look at the reasons why we got started in the first place, okay? There is a need to do with stress. There is a need to do with energy. There is a need to do with vitality, right? But to fully, I suppose the word I'm using, to fully embrace these concepts, as an organisation, we must change our identity. But it starts from the individual first, okay? To do that, when we do that, okay, it's going to be easy to develop and sustain these new habits moving forward. So, in essence, true behaviour change, guys, true behaviour change, as you know, is identity change. We have got to stop being our old self. Okay, we've got to stop being our old self. Just looking at some of these conversations here. Yeah, love it. You can see that, Cal. So when we look at when we look at operationalizing this, so that was one of Cal, that was one of your words from last week that sort of resonated with me. So how do we do this? Yeah. How do we go about, forming a new identity in this area of our life if that's what we're focusing on? So there's two parts. There's two pros, not by no stretch of the imagination is it the be all and the end all. Two things. Two-step process of changing identity. First thing, what we need to consider prior is the two Latin words, essentitas and identitum, being and repeatedly. So think about that. That pretty much gives you the answer just by dissecting the word identity into its two Latin words. What does it mean? Firstly, you must decide on the person that you want to be. Remember, this could be financial context, this could be career context, this could be business context, this could be personal growth context, could be spirituality context, could be health and fitness context, doesn't matter. First decide. I've got an example of what I did this morning, just to give you guys an example, okay? So what do you want to stand for? What do you want to stand for? What are your principles? What are your values? What are your beliefs? What are your attitudes, okay? And who do you wish to become? So guys, without boring you, I'll give you an example practically. So decide on the type of person I want to be. So what do I want to stand for? This is in the context of financial prosperity. So someone who values and appreciates money, this is what I want to stand for. Someone who values and appreciates money and truly understands and appreciates that money simply is a transference of high impact service to people. What are your principles and values? Money provides freedom. Money is the exchange of energy. Financial prosperity is directly linked to the value and service that I'm providing to my clients, right? What do I wish to become? Someone who is financially free to be able to assist and create inspiration in people's lives, both physically, mentally, and emotionally, and inherently, most importantly, for myself. So there was no conversation there, Kelly and Russ, around financial targets, right? This is linked to identity. Does that make sense? It's linked to my why. Yeah. So it's answering some of those questions. These are what I call primers, yeah, to start really having that deeper dive into identity. Any questions about that? Cal, any questions? Russ? No?
No.
Does it make sense? Yes or no?
Yeah, it does, yeah.
Yep. So secondly, really simple, and this talks about what we spoke about last week around the hormones and chemicals in the brain. Prove it to yourself with small wins. So first thing, ask yourself the identity questions, those primers that can get you aligned towards focusing towards identity in what area of life. The second thing is you start proving to yourself with small wins. So what can I repeatedly do? What can I repeatedly do? Simply asking the question, let's say if I was to use the context of health, listen to this, like a good question. What would a healthy person do? Right? So there are many things that a healthy person does from a process, from a structure perspective. There are many things that someone does. There might have been times in your life where you were supposedly healthy. Well, bring that, instead of reinventing the wheel, pull that out, get it down, do a storming process, do a brainstorming process, and start looking at key areas and key themes. Okay, this is part of developing the system. This is part of developing the process. Okay, so what can I repeatedly do? What would a healthy person do? What would someone who's financially free do? What would someone who truly values their personal relationships do? What would someone do who values spirituality? Whatever it is. And if you don't know, you go and find out someone who already does. It's really quite simple, okay? And then here, most importantly, get your evidence. You've got to get your evidence, guys. So evidence comes with small progressive wins. When you got evidence, remember, so if you have a small win, let's say, for example, someone says their identity that they want to have is to be a reader. Okay, great. So one thing they're going to do, they're going to read a page a day, right? Is there evidence that they're becoming a reader? Absolutely, right? Remember we said 1% improvement over 12 months becomes 37 times the result over the duration of 12 months, okay? So get evidence. Don't wait for a goal. Don't wait for 30 days. Don't wait for 60 days. Don't wait for 90 days. Don't wait for a 30th. Don't wait for a 40th. Don't wait for a 50th. Don't wait for the holiday. Okay, don't wait for New Year's Eve for those resolutions. Don't wait for your birthday. Okay, do it now. The very small little things that you can do now that's going to assist you in, obviously, working towards that identity. Okay? But here's the catch, guys, almost as a close. Here's the catch. We experience it in an organization. We experience individually. You may experience an identity conflict. Your old identity is going to want to pull you back into the past, right? When I work with organizations and I'm going in and rolling out emotional intelligence, right? They have been doing things a certain way for many, many years. And here I go, bringing in emotional intelligence, becoming an emotionally self-aware leader, which by the sheer me simply being in the room changes what they do. There's going to be conflict. Sometimes there's more conflict than others. Okay, there is polar. Sometimes you get this polar pull. Yeah, some groups are on board, some groups aren't. Okay, but we know it's good for the organisation, but yeah, they don't do it. It's not that they can't do it. It's just that they're being their old self, their old organisational self. Okay, so it's about updating the identity. So it is a process of unlearning. Okay, I believe we're here in this life. We're actually going to stop being our old self, right? Okay, unlearning, and then simply bit by bit, habit by habit. That's why, Kelly, when I spoke to you about the process for Blast One in regards to this health and wellbeing perspective, we do very small, bite-sized pieces along the way. Not doing everything, being all things to all people, it does not work. Small progressive changes, small progressive shifts, acknowledging small amounts of success along the way. Okay? So, in closing, if you want better results, you've got to forget about goal setting, a goal set focus. Still have goals, but you've got to focus on the system. You've got to spend time on the identity. It's the thing, guys, that is devaluing our sense of self-belief. It's devaluing our sense of self-confidence within ourselves. And that has a translating pervasive effect into organization, into families, into communities. We've got to stop. We're going to stop. We're going to take a breath. We're going to start from the inside out. We start with identity, okay? We then focus on process, then we focus on outcome, all right? When we do that, we form those habits that are good for us physically, mentally, emotionally, okay? And then in turn, okay, we achieve more success, through time. And most importantly, we bring people along the journey. This is the process. This is the way that I believe it needs to go. This is what's lacking in organizations, in any context. This is what's lacking in communities. This is what's lacking in family. This is what's lacking in the individual, okay? Any questions around this? My thought from an action perspective is for you to use that two-step process. Think about the area of your life. Think about the area of your life that you want to form a greater level of achievement and success in, okay? And obviously in turn, habits. right? And then start looking at ways of building that identity up, okay? Ask yourself, by making this decision, by doing this thing, which identity am I promoting? Am I promoting my old self or am I promoting my new self? That's what we're going to ask ourselves every single day. That's how we show up. How do we want to show up? Okay, how do we want to show up? I know Russ, let's go here. The basic walking today is a really great goal for most. Someone starting out, getting out of bed and going for 30-minute walk before eating something you can't talk yourself out of. Yeah, small progressive wins will eventually become big things. So that individual might eventually run a half marathon. Who knows? But it might be 2 years down the track. So that emphasis on small progressive changes, being 1% better each day. So just as a close, so the weekly hot topic, I'm going to deeper dive into training, some training tips, carbohydrate, sugar, protein, and portion size. Okay, it's going to be about 2 or 3 minutes on each, something for you guys to keep front of mind. In regards to the challenge wrap up, the challenge wraps up on Monday night, or it'll be Tuesday morning. I think it's 12 a.m., whatever it is, Tuesday, right? So encourage your team, encourage this challenge group to get active, to lift the weights, to increase the training intensity. We'll confirm when we're going to have that challenge wrap up, hopefully led by Matthew, which would be great. But Cal will confirm that hopefully the next couple of days. Really, we need to get that done pretty much ASAP. All right, ASAP. I think beyond that, success stories. If you hear any success stories amongst your colleagues and they're happy to share, we'd love to utilise and share some of these success stories moving forward. This is the last group lunch and learn. We close with the challenge lunch and learn at the date to be advised. Okay, Russell, Kelly, thank you for popping in. I really appreciate it. It does take a bit of time doing this, but I'm very passionate about this and I care about you guys. So thank you so much for listening. Now act.
Thank you, Jane.
Now act. I know Russell's taking massive.
Yeah.
Think about your other areas. Thanks, guys. Thanks so much. I'll send these video out. Thank you.